Welcome to Acquisitions Intoxicated. Now, historically speaking, I've been joined by my friend Eric Benson. You may know him as the notorious EJB, Edge Benson, or Azerbaijan. Today, I am joined by these vagabonds. Frankly, let's just call it like we see it. These are dangerous men,
Scruffy,
and they're covered in hair.
More than you would care to find out.
Exactly. So this is Dallas.
Hello.
And this is John.
Hi, guys.
But I understand that they call him J-Lib.
J-Lib, yep.
That's the impression that I've gotten. And they are from New Belgium Brewery, which for some reason has an almost constant presence in the Twitch chat of our dumb show. I don't know how it happened. I don't 100% know.
What up, Patrick?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how it came to be that I'm joined by these gentlemen. I suspect that it's at least partly to do. With Patrick, who runs the New Belgium account in there. He had heard that a lot of the novel stuff from New Belgium doesn't get all the way out to the Northwest, and so they've prepared a raft of New Belgian beverages. See, Taras is coming in with the bits, with the serious tip, saying that your beard is out of control.
Oh, thanks. I do my best to keep it under control, but yeah, it's doing its thing down here.
It's a separate employee.
Yeah.
It gets its own paycheck.
No doubt.
From New Belgium. So I will start out with my New Belgium story. And then we can drink in earnest.
Yes.
I like that.
So
There we go.
We used to have, so you know how sometimes like you're like with somebody and like they have a bunch of friends and then you often have to like hang out with them and their friends?
Not often by choice, but just sort of like, oh, yeah, okay, fine.
This happens. And so, well, the way that it went during these events was there was like a little place in Fremont that had, on Tuesdays, they had $2 fat tire.
Yes.
$2.
Where is that now? There's a reason why they call Fremont the center of the universe.
No,
it could be because it's $2 fat tires.
Fremont fucking kicks ass.
Yeah.
And so, because they had $2 fat tires, we made it a point, like me and this massive group of people who I knew, like, you know, in a secondary way, like we actually became friends going to this place on Tuesdays for these $2 things. And then the way that the ritual got modified, which was really, really fun, which is that, well, thank you. If people have questions for us, they can send them in here. And I'll just pass them over to you. But we started to call it Spawn Tuesday.
Nice.
So we would order a bunch of these $2 fat tires. And he said, it's a lot. And we would look through The Stranger, which is like our local weekly,
rag,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we would find some event in town to do
Fueled by fat tire.
that night. Like it was, I mean, it's literally like it would have been the ultimate commercial for the product.
Yes.
But back, I mean, that was coming up on, more than probably 15 years ago now. Like craft brewing is a completely different thing. And even the range of fat tire, like for me, probably the first craft beer that I really, really approached and got was, I think it was called 1554.
Yeah, the black.
Black
Absolutely.
lager.
I'd never had anything. Well, I just never had anything like that. It's like if you have a dark beer, generally speaking, it's gonna be like a Guinness or something, right? And that's like the nitro tap, and it's a lot of toast, and it's great. Like I love that, but it has a very different texture than 1554, which is like sweet engine oil.
Totally. And that beer, when we brought that into existence, it might not have been done since the 1600s or something like that.
Well, that was research, right? I mean, my understanding is that the story of that was that it was an actual like Abbey research project, right?
Basically, yeah. It was like an argument / bet between Peter Buchart, our brewmaster at the time, who's with us for so long and is the reason for our sour beers, our wood cellar, and so much other awesomeness at the brewery. And then Phil Benstein, who was a guy who did a bunch of things, IT, et cetera. He was doing some research in the Fort Collins library and came across a mention of a black beer, a Zwart beer.
Exactly.
An obscure Belgian beer styles book, and brought it to Buchart and said, "Hey, Buchart, we need to do a black beer. What's up with that? I've never heard of this." He's like, "The Belgians have never done a black beer. You sir are crazy. Out of my office. Like, away with you." Bensi would not give it up, and eventually they settled this bet by going to Old Belgium to do some research in Brussels and beyond, and they finally did track down a monk in a monastery who was like, "Actually, yes, like I think I can show you a recipe for a Zwart beer that we did in the 1500s," and took them all up into the library section, and he's cruising through manuscripts and giant tomes of information, and there's drawings in the margins and whatnot.
Hell yes.
And he like opens it up,
This is like
dusts
some
it off.
potion type shit.
And he's like, "This is it. This is the black beer." And sure enough, it's an ingredient list with bushels of this and baskets of that and obscure measurements
weird measurements. Yeah.
and so they didn't know exactly how to mix up the stuff, but they knew what stuff was in the beer. So they surreptitiously might have gotten a photograph of this ingredient list, or like committed it to memory. Phil Benson probably has that brain where you can just photo memory it all. And they brought that back to New Belgium, and 1554 was born. And that's enlightened black lager.
Is 1554 like out here? I almost never see 1554 anymore. Is that not a current part of that lineup?
It's a full part of the lineup, for sure.
Shit,
And
what the fuck is happening?
not all accounts are enlightened enough to carry
there
that
we
beer
go.
full
Listen,
time.
I'm going to advocate.
And we got to maybe get out there, put our selling shoes on.
Yeah,
and
it's
let
in
people
most
take
of the
black.
chains. So the Kroger sets will have it. So Fred Meyer, QFCs.
That's so funny. So because I'm going to bottle shops, I should actually be going to Safeway.
Yeah, well, not Safeway, but definitely
up
QFC
Freddie.
and Fred Meyer's. They have 1554 in almost all their sets here in King County.
Well, yeah.
And then as far as like draft goes, it's more of a seasonal kind of beer. For some reason, people tend to bring it on when it's fall, winter style. I don't know why,
No,
but
it definitely. Well, I'll tell you. I mean, I can give you just a sense of it, like out here, out on these streets.
yeah.
For me, it's really, really odd to drink something cold and then, but have the experience be warm. Like it is a really, really rich, like it's almost like a broth.
And then refreshing and
It's weird.
quenching and sessionable.
Well,
It is. It's got this
exactly. Like I was gonna say,
duality.
like that was like the dark. That was like the dark portal into really into like experimenting with stuff. And like I say now, especially over in Ballard and Fremont, like you can't throw a rock without hitting like a brew on
gangster brew,
premises. Like it's bunks. Like
they're
so
everywhere.
this table, this is also our D&D table. So if you were to take if you were to take these blast shields off the top, you would see just a sea of soft purple felt. And that's where we do our Dungeons and Dragons stuff. And we have a walk that we take over in it sort of starts over in East Ballard, where when we started doing this walk, there were 2 breweries on this route.
Which ones?
That would have been Lucky Envelope and Rubens.
Cool. Both. Yeah.
A plus, right? So now you go up 1 block. There's Obeck, which is like a Czech brewery, which is brand. I mean, like we don't have anything like that before. Like that was really, really neat. The Dark Czech is the closest thing I've ever had, like at a brew house to 1554.
I got to check it out.
Right.
Another great reason to head up there.
Right. And then Stoop is just on the other side of the block,
They're
right?
making some great beers.
And then if you're walking into Ballard proper, you're passing Peddler, Northwest Peaks. Lagunitas has a fucking
Sanctuary.
exactly right. So it's just, I mean, back then craft beer, I mean, for me was basically New Belgium in a lot of ways.
And now the game has blown up, and it's really impressive how much dope beer there are in dope places and great neighborhoods and whatnot. It's been awesome watching this scene evolve, just like it's been awesome watching a scene like yours evolve and grow.
Oh, it's
and
weird.
Transform. And
It's very, very
become,
weird.
Yeah, like
Well, here,
a lot
there's
of fun and
certain-
important to people.
Yeah, well, there's certain parts of the ritual that we do on the show. So part of the show is obviously we want to expose people to interesting beer, but we really want to make sure that they know that this is like a human art form and that they are inheritors of it, right?
Basically, as long as there have been humans, there's been beer.
They have been accidentally
Thank you,
making beer,
universe.
right? So typically speaking, we have our beer altar back here.
Okay.
And I know it's not there. It's not illusory.
But I might have to like put on some.
No, it's like you close your eyes and then you can see our crucible.
Some goggles.
But no, generally speaking, here, among other things, among our fundamental task to educate human beings about beer, we also sing to the grains directly. And I don't know
Some
if that's
physical contact I noticed as well.
Oh, absolutely. Well, no. They actually
touch it too.
they have emotes in the channel to communicate with us when the grains need to be sung to,
Nice.
and when they need to be, when gentle pressure needs to be applied to the brew basket.
Sometimes like a gentle, low pitch hum.
Well, no, it's like, and I see. I was just gonna say. So these are the emotes you can see.
What's up?
When the rub is required, when the singing is required. See, and they know exactly what's going on. Hey, so are you familiar with sketchbook brewing?
Negative.
Yeah, so this is Vaporlock's question for New Belgium. Any interest in doing a collaboration with Sketchbook Brewing? First step, find out who they are.
Yep, number one. Let us know.
Yeah.
And then investigate it. So which one of these bad boys should we try?
You know,
First.
if we are going through, let's start with the sour saison, and then we can kind of like maybe ratchet up some interesting things as we go from here. This is our latest sort of piece of our Belgian collection. This is a hybrid. We are really the only brewery capable of doing a beer like this year round. And it's a straight up blend because of all the fooders in our cache la fooder. We have America's largest collection of fooders, which are basically just giant oak vats.
Oh, here, spell that for the gathered
Oh,
crowd.
it's a tough one. Let's see if I can nail it. Foeder.
I believe so. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So
don't ask me to spell Guza though. That one's
no, that's a
difficult.
fuck fest. But basically, when you're talking about the fooder, you're talking about a spontaneous fermentation tank.
Yeah, and we
Right?
do it a little bit different. We fully ferment the beer that we put into our fooders, and then we let the bugs take over from there. So it's there's some yeast up in those barrels, but basically it's a collection of lactobacillus, pediococcus, good healthy bacteria, the same stuff you'll find in yogurt.
Yeah, going to work.
Yeah,
on some
exactly.
work.
Working on just working on finished beer too, and using it as a food source, and slowly the beer becomes acidified over time. And sometimes it takes a few months, sometimes it's a couple years, right? And
No, it gets tangy. So
Yeah.
it's funny, like part of the reason we didn't do this, because when we brew here, we brew with the brewmaster for Acquisitions Intoxicated, Eric, who is doing work. He's like on a work training thing today, so he wasn't able to pop up. But of course, he'll be back next week.
Cool.
But I pulled the wort out of that one last time.
How'd it taste?
Well, no, it was not good because this particular wort, it hadn't gone all the way through the system 100%. And so when I removed it, it had soured inside.
You kettle soured it.
Kettle sour.
Sweet.
And it's
Not what you
it's
wanted
not
it to be,
intentional. It was savory, is how I would put it. There was a unique film on top of it. So tell me what's going on with this here.
True blend of two distinct beers, a very traditionally formulated and put together saison, and then a blend of our golden colored sour beer. We call our base beers Oscar and Felix. One is dark, the other is light, riffing off that odd couple from back in the day. And so this is Felix blended with a traditional, very Belgian saison. And literally, we just blend them together.
Oh, okay, 'cause
the
I was-
result is like a very nuanced, balanced, really deep thing.
Well, see, for me, I have saurophobia. I'm working through it. Like, it's a challenge for me, obviously.
One sip at a time.
One sip at a time, exactly. Like I have a hard time with wine as well. Like, it just once it reaches a certain level, like hop tartness is fine. That is like at a certain flat point on the palate.
Sure.
But the wines, generally speaking, are just very sharp in their sweetness. So
I struggle with tannins.
yeah, exactly,
reason. Yeah.
exactly. It's like this is a support group, basically.
Yeah.
We're going to be okay, guys.
You know what? We just thought we have to work together. That's the key.
I think you just find that
Drink
one.
together.
Yeah, I was gonna say you just find that one sour beer that you like, and then from there, you just kind of spread your wings and fly a little bit.
Yeah.
That's I didn't like sour beers at first. When I was drinking craft beer, I didn't like IPAs at first, and then you find that one, and then you're like, oh, this is so awesome. Why
Yeah,
have I been
then you
not
sort of
drinking this whole time.
explore,
Then you
right.
start to explore a little bit. For me with sour beers, I tried Lawfully for the first time, and my brothers worked for the brewery for about 10 years, and I was like, I'm not into sour beer. I didn't like it. But as I got into, drinking more beers and stuff like that, I found Cascade beers, were kind of fruited sours, so it was kind of like the introduction to me, and I was like, oh my god, these are amazing.
Oh, then it had the fruit in the back.
And then I tried Rodenbach, Grand Cru, and then I went back to Lawfully, and I was like, I love sour beers.
Yeah, exactly. Like I can do it for some reason. It's like a sour is one thing. Like lambic, no problem, totally ready to go.
Yeah.
It's like basically, it's like I don't know what the relief map of this looks like, but it's like I had to sort of like triangulate around sour. I had to like figure out the environment around it, and then I got in because I was trying to figure out why I thought this was why I was like great with this, and I think that it's the blend, right?
Yeah.
It has the saison, it's like sweet, spicy fruit thing
Herbal,
in the back.
floral. Yeah, most definitely.
So it's like cut, right? It's like cut for the street.
Indeed, and
It's super approachable, you know, as far as the sour goes too, you know. It's not going to be super acidic, you know, and super just you know, get your face going. You're like, oh, that's good. And there's a little bit of tartness, there's a little bit of sourness, you know, with the beer too.
We ratchet up the acidity levels.
Some of the other product.
Yeah, they're right up here on the table.
Well, yeah, because I'm pretty sure Patrick, who's running the channel here.
See Patrick.
Right. I think that, like I was saying before, I think that he had sent us a crowler of the Sour Saison.
Excellent.
That we tried a while back. And I was trying to figure out, again, like why it was making sense, like why it wasn't scary to me. And I think it's because half of it is not sour.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's a good blend. But yeah, this is pretty righteous. I mean, what else do you have in your... what else do you have in this menu here?
So yeah, fun stuff. If we're gonna be, you know, keeping it the sours.
Yep.
John, tell them about
So basically, I'll start from left to right or right to left, however people are looking at it. This is our Le Creek Noir. This is a beer that we just came out with last summer, special release from our Wood Cellar Reserve series. So basically, this is our base beer, which is Oscar, which is a darker base beer, and what we did with this beer is we blended it with cherry lambic juices, I like to call it, from Oud Bersel, which is a brewery in Belgium that we work with. We also do a
traditional.
we do a beer with them called Transatlantic Creek as well. So this is basically lawfully blended with that. So this is probably my favorite sour beer. Might be my favorite beer we make. It's quite good.
Do the honors?
Yeah.
It's amazing. I really like lawfully a lot, and the thought of lawfully blended with cherries. Makes me drool a little bit. So, we're super.
Right now.
Yeah, right, exactly. So we're super excited to have this one. This one hardly ever leaves Fort Collins. If it does, you know,
like I was saying,
it's very rare.
There's so much, like, I have all these super good associations, but there's so much of the stuff that just doesn't.
Yeah.
It can't. Like we were saying, like I think it's like a sponge almost. Like the region around the brewery absorbs all that stuff, and it happens it happens a lot with I think he's called the Alchemist. There's a brewery out in the Northeast.
Oh yeah, yep. Heavy Topper, all those beers, those hazy IPAs. Yep.
Yeah, but you never see them.
Yeah,
Like you, like they.
That's the get
I didn't
bootleg
even
out
know.
here.
Like I love this shit, and you never see that stuff out here.
Yeah, you got to have friends bringing it out, sending it
Yeah.
your way, or
Well, I had a friend who was telling me that they like drive a truck around, and it's like you got to know where the truck is. That type of shit. like you're trying to get like barbecue from that famous truck. Is this barreled?
So it is, you know, and as
just gonna say,
as lawfully is becoming lawfully, and also as the creek is becoming the creek, it spends a lot of time on oak, and
Because the wood is as soon as I poured
what
it,
the
I
magic
knew
is.
I was pouring a barrel out over here.
Yeah, so something crazy about our wood cellar is we inoculated one barrel one time, and that, well, I mean, the first barrel that was inoculated by Bucart and a couple other heads, that single inoculation is still powering all the sour beer production in our wood cellar.
Oh, that's right. Because it hangs out in the wood itself. It's like there's a mystical aspect to it almost, right?
There really is an evolutionary aspect. There are unidentified microorganisms inside our culture, and we've never let a barrel go dry. So, you know, the bugs that are creating this beer have, you know, lived and died who knows how many times.
Yeah, exactly.
In order to get from that single inoculation, which was a blend of a bunch of beers that Bucart and friends were throwing into this barrel.
This cauldron.
Yeah, exactly. And then just, you know, walking away from it and hoping something good happens. And sure enough, something kind of amazing happened, and it's still happening. And This is our 20th year of doing sour beer as a brewery. Oh yeah, let's do this proper, guys.
Yeah,
There we
exactly.
go. I got excited. I told you that's my favorite beer.
No, thanks for coming out though. But no, I saw it coming up, and it's just like he's not in control. Like
The bugs have taken over.
It does. It's true.
I worry about either the robot apocalypse or the zombie apocalypse, but maybe it's like a microbiologic apocalypse that we're really worried about. That's a few degrees more sour.
There you go. Yeah, it's a little acidic.
Hey-o.
you gotta scaffold me up, guys, like that.
I was gonna say maybe we should have gone with one of the other ones, which we aged in Leopold Brothers whiskey barrels. That's got a little bit more of a sweet component from the aging on spent bourbon barrels. This was definitely the granddaddy. You went from,
I won't be defeated.
Hey, same
You
here.
went from very approachable to super sour. Yep.
But that's a different sour than I've ever had before, too.
As it warms up a little bit too, you're gonna get some more nuanced flavors and different stuff going on. I'm straight up hooked. Like I'm addicted to these things by now.
Well, I mean, again, like a big IPA, like part of the fun.
Yeah.
Like testing yourself against them is part of the fun.
No doubt.
And when you see those IBUs, you're like, well,
I got this.
I can handle this. This isn't scary to me. We have a question from the channel. It says, are new Belgium sour beers pasteurized?
So that's a really good question. And the answer in years past was yes. And for really good reason. Like we fully finish these beers, pasteurize these beers, and then put them into the barrels, into the fooders to acidify, to take on the barrel character. Certain barrels impart certain different characteristics, and that's what we're going for is the barrel character, and then the art of the blending. Lauren, amazing work. She is trying the liquid that's in all of our fooders all the time to figure out what they're doing. Sometimes vanilla, sometimes cherry.
I think I have seen a short documentary about her.
She's amazing, absolutely extraordinarily talented.
Right?
The entire Wood Cellar crew.
Well, yeah,
Eric,
but
etc.
I had seen an interview. I had seen an interview with her where she basically just had like a tray of 6 different beers, and then it was like mixing paint on a palette. She would taste each one, and then she would mix it like she would do the ratios basically in her head in a glass, like
on the fly.
Exactly, like beer blending. Like that's not where I'm at. Like there's two aspects to brewing that at least right now are sort of beyond my capability. The first is minerality, like really like tuning water. I'm not there yet.
That's chemistry, yo.
No, I mean I'm fine getting the water from the tap and then making it into beer. But the idea that I'm going to customize the water, I haven't arrived at that yet. And the other one is the idea that I would even that I would start combining beers, and that I'd be able to do it at a ratio that was actually a good idea.
Sure.
I think not.
And she's done it, and basically she's got now onto her second journal notebook thing where every single year of La Folie, she's got written down in there with the blends and the ages and what fooders the beers are coming out of for La Folie, for Les Terroirs.
So it's for her. It's very data. It's like data driven.
Definitely, yeah, and exactly. All via her palate and her brain and her memory and what she knows La Folie to be and what we all know La Folie to be and want it to be every year. So to answer that question though, this year on our 20th anniversary, we are going back to the live culture roots, and we are putting corks in the bottles like you see in these ones.
Yeah.
So La Folie and Les Terroirs, they'll have sort of like the champagne split look to it. And it's live culture in the La Folie and Les Terroirs bottles this year.
And the Transatlantic Creek bottles.
And Trans Creek, absolutely. Yep. So we brought the bugs back. They're alive. Which if you're worried about the bacteria apocalypse, maybe we should be concerned about. But
yeah, exactly.
Those bottles are not
pasteurized. These are benevolent creatures,
no doubt. Yeah.
But no. So where I had to. So now that I'm down to the bottom of this, here's how I had to approach it. So most like big sours are challenging for me. This is essentially like I made a batch of kombucha that sat in this continuum here. Right. And I think that's how I can get my palate oriented correctly. Right. Because if you, once you've done the second or third fermentation on a batch of kombucha, like the vinegar aspect can be pretty big. And if not everyone likes that part of it, I don't mind that part, but I think that's my on ramp to understanding
Totally.
sour.
Very similar stuff. SCOBY,
Right?
right?
Oh no, it's goop.
Yeah,
right.
totally.
We're talking about, so in those fooders, are we talking about like
No, there isn't anything like that. They do, a pellicle does get created though.
that's the film?
It's like a solid layer. It's like you knock on it and you
It's
get like
that hard?
Yeah, the pellicle is pretty crazy. So they form that to protect themselves and to keep the environment the way that they like it, so that they can eat. Like
They're like terraforming the fooder. That's fucking dope.
they're amazing, and it's crazy to see it actually.
Well, thank goodness for these creatures. Let's see. Perfect Gem says, can you use quality artesian bottled water instead of mineralizing whatever comes from your tap locally? Yeah, you could. It would be really expensive though.
Yep, probably.
Yeah.
A lot of municipal water supplies are really good for brewing. I'm from Los Angeles.
No, we're
and
blessed. Like here in Seattle, we're blessed. Like you brew straight out of the tap, and it's awesome.
You can use additives and whatnot to kind of make your water what you need it to be. But it's all about the water.
Of it,
That's why so many specific Czech beers taste the way that they do, or beers from England taste the way that they do, is because the natural mineral content of the spring water.
Here now, so we have a cook, caterer, food tinkerer, Dinomancer.
What's Dinomancer?
Yeah, in the channel, St. Brian, and St. Brian wants to know if you at New Belgium are proponents of East or West Carolina barbecue.
Ooh.
And I don't want to the internet's forever, so I mean I want to make sure you understand.
That's a loaded question.
I have not done enough research yet. That's
wise.
Get me out to Carolina, so I
We like to go to
travel
Asheville,
to the east
yeah.
and the west.
Take us to the brewery.
I'm a
Take
West
us to the
Side
brewery.
guy, but that's just because I haven't spent enough time in the east. So.
Yeah, exactly. So you think that there's an opportunity there?
No doubt.
Yeah. Here, so S.A. Wells he says, question, is fooder like related to fetid as a word? And I bet that it is.
Like F-E-T-E?
Yeah, but the other spelling of fetid is F-O-E-T-I-D.
Oh,
Right?
fetid. Yeah, gotcha.
I bet.
There's gotta be.
Yeah, I bet that it's about gross stuff, right? In a big wooden thing. Here, so what else do you got on this tip?
Oh yeah, let's get into some Oscar and Felix.
You want to do the Oscar and Felix?
So you're saying that
Let's do the
and
Oscar
Felix,
since we're on the dark side of things right
That'd
now.
be a nice transition.
Oscar and Felix are like they're bases that you experiment with in other forms. It seems like
Correct.
like they pop up in other bottles.
Yep.
They do. Le Terroir and La Folie being the two most prevalent, but then we're doing some really interesting blending and aging, and sometimes when a single fooder gets perfect, we used to call that the love, and now they are single fooder 65 you'll see out there. When a beer just gets perfect in one single barrel, it doesn't need to be blended with anything else. We'll just bring that out, put it in kegs and bottles.
Oh, and so it's like when it's determined, like you pull from it, and it's just, it doesn't need nothing.
That's right.
That gets it's almost like a single malting, basically, right?
Totally.
And then you'll do a bottle run of that.
So this, so Leopold Brothers, family business in Denver, they do rad whiskeys, fruited whiskeys, and a bourbon. This thing is cool. It spends a year, John.
Yep.
Ish.
9 months to a year.
Yeah.
Whiskey barrel.
On Leopold Brothers.
This is
and
gonna
whiskey barrels.
be crazy pants.
Yeah, for sure. And once again, the magic of the barrel, Coopers.
I won't make that mistake again.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
cheers.
it's wrong. Here, let's take a look at this.
Yeah. So you'll see just how much the liquid can change based on the treatment, and
Okay, now that's really good.
yeah, texture way different.
No. It's a little bit more syrup. But the main thing, I think, is that like the sweetness of the whiskey barrel is actually what's on the other side of the scale. It's like thumbing the scale of the tartness. Like that's kick ass.
Oak.
That
oak.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Like those are basically like flanking that tangy note, and it's allowing me access to it, which is cool.
Yeah. These beers are amazing.
Dragon Breath says, I jumped in at 3:15. Is Oscar and Felix named after the obvious Odd Couple?
No doubt.
Yeah, you got it.
Is that in syndication still? Can I watch episodes of The Odd Couple?
Is it out
Let's
there?
bring it back. Netflix. Put it on. Amazon.
Yeah, right.
Let's see. Perfect Gem, will I gain weight if I develop a taste for beer? Or does it depend on certain components of it? Yes. Have you ever heard the term beer belly? It's not. It's a real. It's a true phenomenon. But there's also a scenario where you reward yourself after aerobic exercise with beer.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a system.
Refresh yourself, sustain.
That's a system. If you'd like to have an exciting time, compare this face and its configuration to the very first episode of this show a year ago, and see if you noticed any differences.
It's been an evolution.
See if you notice any differences. So this is a huge winner.
Yeah.
So New Belgium did not really for a while, at least out here. Like I say, it's a subset of a subset, right? But I never saw much experimentation on the IPA side. Like it wasn't really a hop. It wasn't a hop, bastion for a super long time. It's all novel, all good. Like I said, 1554. Like I wasn't missing the hop, but it wasn't until like my first experience was the first Ranger.
Yep, and that was it. 2010 is when we launched Ranger IPA.
Okay, so I'm right. Like that's it's been a while.
Yeah, it has. And I mean, it took us an extremely long time to bring an IPA to market, really, because the IPA is not a traditional Belgian style, and us being New Belgium Brewing.
Yeah, you had to sort of figure out how to do it your way, I guess.
For sure, and teach our system how to brew a West Coast style, very hop forward, big, bold, aromatic thing, and Ranger did it in 2010. And it's funny, like that beer now would barely qualify as an IPA.
Oh no. It was an IPA. Like from you guys, it was an IPA.
Yeah.
But like out here, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, y'all do hoppy beers in a big way.
We grow them.
We're in hop country. We're in the middle of the hop universe here. We're so spoiled. Pac Northwest and especially I would say Seattle with just so many hoppy beers. And it's fresh. You're getting awesome world class IPAs kegged like the day of, and accounts are pouring them, and it's amazing.
Oh no,
and
yeah.
then fresh hop season comes out.
No, I was just gonna say. So, are you ever out this way for fresh hop?
I got to go hot top selection last year, and it was a life changing experience. Like rubbing my hands
Here, go back.
Yeah.
What do you mean hop selection?
So brewers sent representatives.
Give me this industry info.
There's so we went to BSG, and they're a hop broker.
Battlestar Galactica.
I love that. I love that hat because Starbucks for life. It's fracking amazing. The whole experience. So we went to this hop broker, and we were there to buy.
Hop broker. Now, were you in an alley?
No, it's like a giant hangar, basically, almost huge.
Dallas,
room.
you could have let me have that, man. It's like they open up the trunk, and it's just like they're not even contained. It's just hops in there.
I have a feeling that's how some hops get sold, like the cutting edge, like the dankest of the dank. Because there's a nug factor. Yeah.
When it comes to this stuff, and like there's unnamed, like there's hops that still don't have names.
Experimental hop.
Yeah, experimental hops.
4-9er, 6-7.
Yeah,
that's my favorite.
X1.
No, it's a great one. So you roll in, and are you bidding?
We're basically trying to find the attributes, the aromatic attributes that we want from a particular
batch.
Yeah, so like we'll get centennial hops from 10 different farms,
right?
And then we'll get different batches from different lots and plots from a single farm, and they all have identifications on them. And we were told to find like rocket fuel, red candy, starburst type stuff. Like that's what we were looking for. Is you're
big
rubbing
fruits.
up on your hands. Yeah, like absolutely big. Bold,
yeah, but you want like that. You want that starburst, like that
hoppiness.
candy,
Mm-hmm.
that candy thing. You know what we discovered? So sometimes we make beers. So the main thesis of the show, generally speaking, is to make beers that are like artifacts of a game world. So it's like these are beers that are either based on something in there, or at its best, they're beers that are drunk and consumed
in the acquisitions landscape, in particular places.
Yeah.
People. I dig
it. It's super fun. But sometimes one of the things that we're doing is we're trying to make beer. So my like creative partner / like brother, Mike Krahulik, basically alcohol is like a relatively new thing for him. Even as he's like 41, it's a relatively new thing. He's just coming into it. And beer can be very, very challenging. And so a lot of times we're trying to make something with him in mind. And so we'll approach it, and we've been using a lot of German styles just because.
Classic.
Well, yeah, Dunkel.
Delicious. They've been refining those for.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're
time.
like the hopping on them is not bunks. It's only enough to sort of flatten out like the thick syrup, right?
Sure. Give me Berliner Weiss.
Oh
All day.
yeah, exactly, right. There's some really a Hockashore. It's all you can't throw a rock. I mean, it's fucked up. And so we brought him in, and we made like a light Dunkel.
Cool.
Like a light in color, and then basically like to ensure the sale, we offered it with a range of candies. And so we had like red vines as a straw.
Yes.
Like so we had like
done that before.
we had like the sample paddle. Like we had it out here, and it's like each one of them had like Starburst or like Pop Rocks.
Cool.
And it turns out that those things are not good. In combination, it's like if you drank a beer and then ate that, it would be fine. But if you put them in beer, something terrible happens.
Explosive.
Well, no. There's no explosion. But what happens is that ultimately these candies are made from chemicals.
Yeah.
And so it starts to strip out.
Oh.
And so you're drinking it, you're thinking, oh, well, Starburst, I mean, this is a great candy. But whatever they make Starburst from is not candy. It's some kind of industrial solvent. And then if you drink it, it's a negative experience really for everyone involved.
Whoopsies.
Yeah, what is in the Starburst?
So I shouldn't have the next Skittle Brow that someone puts in front of me?
Well, no, I mean, we had a heap of Skittles in this cup. And when we took a drink of it, that tasted the most like poison of any of them. And I mean, none of them were good. Like the beer itself, this is the funny thing. We added all this shit trying to get him in the door. But what he actually preferred was the regular old light Dunkel that we made him.
Right beer for the right person at the right time.
Exactly.
Dial it in.
It matched up. I mean, basically, it was like potable summer. It was just like if you could like tap the sky and then put it into a glass. That was more or less what we were able to.
Yes, please.
Yeah, exactly right. Let's see. What do you know about adding
Skittles, yes.
beer ingredients to teas? I don't know. I'm drinking Chinese red with a single compressed hop pellet, and it's bitter and bad. Oh, but adding grains has been bready and good, especially with pu'er. Yeah. So if you're talking about a hop pellet,
Highly concentrated.
I mean, that's oh my gosh, and also depending on the hop, like that's like going to be a whole range of acids, and it's like if you're coming up here high, like that's going to be purely about how much water you're putting in too. I don't think it's impossible to get something decent out of a hop tea, but I think that you have to be thinking about for that, just like your teas, I might consider getting a leaf hop instead of a pellet.
Totally. Yeah, whole cone flour.
Exactly. And then you'll be able to do the dosing much more like you would with the rest of the teas you enjoy, right? But yeah. Here, so let me figure out what's going on in this cup. And then what else do you have over there that I don't know about yet?
So we have our Felix Apple, which is our base beer. It's our golden sour. It's our base beer for Les Terroirs.
Yeah.
This one is aged in Leopold Brothers barrels. This one is apple whiskey barrels for 9 to 12 months.
Apple whiskey?
Apple whiskey, yeah. The Leopold Brothers are doing the fruited whiskeys there in Denver.
Open that
Oh,
one.
I can open this one.
That's a great idea.
And so this is our Apple Felix. So this one's going to be a lot...
So the tart.
Very tart.
Prepare myself mentally and physically.
A little bit tart, but also a lot of different color. This is going to be a lot lighter. A little bit more like the sour saison as far as like body goes. So yeah, it's a little bit different.
Green tea. Lager, yes.
Yeah,
I'm
there
a
we
big
go.
fan of teas and beers too.
Well, yeah. So we have a couple of fantasies like that. We have we've basically made a new recipe most weeks for about a year.
It's a lot of beer.
Oh, it certainly is. It
If
certainly
you need any
is.
help, holla.
No, we've been putting this shit to work. The fact is that our director of operations, Jeff, generally speaking,
I'll get there.
he's in the door 15, 20 minutes after the show starts. And, you know, when the show first started, maybe there was a lot of head on the pour, right? He was approaching it his way. Now, he could work at a bar.
Sweet.
Like, he's pro tier now. But he has a dark thirst. Keep that in mind.
Just how dark.
Quite.
All right,
Here,
my man.
So let's take a look at this.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so wood.
Way different.
Right.
Little bit of wheat in the malt base for Felix. Both are lagers. The base beers are both lagers, which is cool.
So yeah, you're gonna get some different flavors. The Oscar was blackberry. This one's apple. Not getting a lot of apple.
No. I'm saying like, I get this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes
Apple
sense to me.
whiskey sour
well,
beer.
no, but it's the wheat.
Oh, sure.
I think that the wheat is the big thing because it's a little bit astringent, a little flat,
Sure.
along with the rest of the tart and juice. Like that lines me up. I like that.
Right on. Felix.
Yep.
Let's get Jerry more Felix.
Well, is
Felix.
that how it works?
Late
Like,
terroir next time.
Yeah, you bet.
is that how you can like sort of bifurcate the earth? Are there like Oscar people and Felix people?
Sometimes, yeah. And it's funny you mentioned earth. So Felix turns into a beer called Le Terroir, which means the earth. So it's our terroir at the brewery and what we do in the barrels and whatnot and how we dry hop the beer that changes Le Terroir every year.
Yeah.
But people do seem to be drawn to one
One of those two poles.
The other, yeah.
I'm an equal opportunity beer offender for the most part. I'll drink anything. Let's be real.
So Wild Card is one of the brewers in the channel, and they want to know.
Wild Card.
Yeah, and they want to know what would be your choices for the perfect smash. So that single malt, single hop. Like, where would you go on that?
Man,
I would kind of want to do like a hop tart kind of beer. Maybe throw a little lactobacillus in there.
Oh yeah, so basically, what's funny is that the style base, when they say single malt, single hop, it's like, yeah, here's the base.
Yep.
But your first thought, probably because of where you're from, is, okay, how do we fuck with this
Yeah.
at a microbiology level?
Make it a little bit different, yeah. That
Right?
would be always my first thought, but...
yeah, something different. I mean, like Midnight Wheat, when I first had a beer that brewed with Midnight Wheat, which is like a highly roasted wheat malt, like a darker roasted wheat malt thing. Put something dope, like a new dope
Maybe even
Equinox
like a rye
or something
malt.
like that.
Yeah.
On a Midnight Wheat and do
Yeah.
like a really interesting,
To say HB
IPA
522, some
thing.
like experimental hop.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
even I have seen that one on
Yep.
on the sides of bottles. People are playing around with that one a lot right
Yep.
now.
Carapils is a favorite malt,
Motaka or Muteka. I can never pronounce that one.
Motueka.
yeah.
Something. Yeah, dude.
Azaka's always a good hop too.
Azaka, rad.
I like that hop as well. So, yeah, definitely
Eldorado.
towards the more pineapple-y, passion fruit, kind of flavors.
I feel like
those are the ones that I like at least.
I feel like that zone, like that's everybody's fucking around with the tropical, like the massive tropical, like crazy stone fruits. Like
all in on
Eldorado is all over the place right now.
Yeah.
Like we are like, if you could be a fan of a hop, like I feel like I would follow this hop like on Facebook. Like
Yep.
I just want to support this hop and everything that it does. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm on its team.
Yeah. Yes.
Hey, Red Larch wants to know, is there any advice for somebody with a physics chemistry degree who would love to find a brewery job? How common do breweries hire chemists?
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it's breweries that are investing in chemists and microbiologists, in quality control, in dialing in replicable recipes and system sort of like maintenance. Those are the breweries that are gonna stick around for the long term.
So my wife's
Smart breweries hire smart people.
Yeah. My wife's one of her uncles. He worked for a lab that had been contracted by Coors, I believe, and it was all about like refining. It's like, we might not think so, but there's like a highly calibrated process because for them it's about like reliability and replicability. So he was like on
Consistency, too.
exactly
Yeah.
right. And so his project over there was end to end, just trying to perfect their yeast.
Yeah, totally.
Like, this is the Coors yeast, and so functionally speaking, like that creature that they have, pressed into service, right? I mean, that's their brand.
No doubt.
And so it's like, this is not one chemist. They have a team of scientists whose only job is to make, maintain, and perfect this very specific strain because of what it does to their wort.
Yep.
Right?
And yeah, I mean, individual flavor components, esters come from, specific yeast and acids plus alcohols. I mean, yeast has been around as long as life has been around on the planet. pretty much. And if you're not taking care of your yeast strains and propping them upright and keeping them happy and giving them great food, which is the work, you got some work to do if you can't take care of your yeast.
Yeah, I mean, but specifically on that core side, it's like for me, it's like that's such a part of the process. Like ultimately, you're going to get to the point where you have a yeast strain that is your property.
Yeah.
Right.
We have our house strain that's proprietary, and we
and you have your food. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's like those barrels like that you have that are working all the time. That's not replicable.
No, probably not.
It's not.
You would need
right?
27 years to get anywhere close to what we've got. Yeah, bubbling away. For sure.
Interesting. Here, so Archon wants to know what would be the best beer to survive a Canadian winter. So what would you recommend? I would say, listen, Archon, I'm just going to put my vote in real quick.
Sure.
These guys have it. 1554, like I said, it was the first craft beer that I'd ever had where I drank it and then it's cold and yet somehow you still feel warm. And not like in the typical way. Like obviously you can drink things and feel warm. We all recall the image of the Hound.
Sure.
With the barrel. Right? We know about this Hound.
The Mountain Rescue.
Exactly. But there are a lot of beers, especially in the German beer continuum. Like these beers mean certain things. Like they're made for seasons.
Sure.
Like these are cultural practices, basically, right?
If I was a bear hibernating and could wake up every little while and have a little sip, I would want to go something big, barrel aged with a lot of residual sugar to help like sustain me or whatnot. If I was a human. An Abbey.
Well, exactly. Don't forget.
Double,
especially if we're talking about
a double.
Yeah. But if we're talking about beer, ultimately, you're going to go back to a point where we're talking about, monastic organizations perfecting these arts. And we were talking about Abbey style. We're talking about this is like the secret, right? It's like yes, these men fasted. Also, beer is not food.
Rank.
So imagine that. Imagine that situation where you have access to all of this beer, but you can't eat. Like honestly, that sounds like a great week. That sounds like a positive experience.
I want to try it.
Yep.
You need a sip?
Sure. Look. You know my routine. I'm always popping here.
Here.
Boring.
So this is the Jeff that I told you about.
What's up,
Hi, Jeff?
It's good to meet you guys. Thanks for coming down here.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure.
Office.
Now sell this gentleman on this bad boy. This is in. You're going to love everything about this, honestly.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's a distinct beverage right there. So that is Felix, which is our golden sour beer, aged in oak for a period of year, 18 months or whatnot, blended and then put into Leopold Brothers spent whiskey barrels, apple whiskey barrels, aged for another year in those barrels, and then bottled for you.
Isn't that
That
interesting?
is one of the sweetest sours.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is what I. So normally, like I like some sours, but normally I'm like, okay, it's too much. But I don't want to describe it like candy,
it's challenging.
but it is like the perfect combination of that sweet with that sour.
Yeah, it's
Salt aftertaste.
it's like the sweet candy with the sour
with
powder.
the sour powder,
Right? Like a sour straw.
But yeah,
Sour
that is.
Patch Kid.
Isn't that cool?
Where
I knew you
where
would
am I
like it.
purchasing this.
Here.
We got to hunt for those.
Let's just send
Are
him.
these a limited release, super hard to
No,
track
but
down?
look, so this is their wood. They brought over a bunch of wood cellar reserve because so much of it never gets out here. So here, you should taste
heard that
this
was a
with
thirst.
you,
No,
Jeff.
I don't want to.
Oh, please.
Look, geez. All right.
You leave the glass
I
for
will leave
me,
the glass for you.
and then you take the bottle.
Look, this is the best kind of streams when I just walk in and grab a bottle and leave.
I like that.
Love your guys' work. Thanks so much.
Thank
for
you
coming
so
on.
much.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
See, I didn't know if we were going to have a cameo today.
I like that.
It turned out great.
Name of the whiskey barreled sour again. The bottle just left. So that was Felix
Apple.
aged in apple whiskey barrels. Leopold Brothers apple whiskey barrels.
Yep,
There's
that's the one right there.
And
Thank you, Jeff.
what I was going to say is most of these beers, at least in the local Seattle area, you can find them at bottle shops. We're starting to replenish the shelves a little bit as we get a little bit more of this beer out there. Obviously you can always go to kind of the bigger as I like to say, bigger box stores like a Total Wine or a Bevmo. They might have them as well. But definitely check out your local bottle shops. Most of the time, you'll definitely be gracing the shelves out here for sure. So
ask for them by name so that the beer buyer at those accounts can bother John and I and we'll make magic happen.
Yeah, exactly.
We're beer rangers. We're here to keep the people out of beer danger.
Yeah, we want to make sure that you guys
only you
get your sour beer.
can prevent crappy beer.
Yeah. No. So
that.
Crazy Forest Gnome wants to know, like, what do you think the best way for a home brewer is to get into wild fermentation? I mean, at the homebrew level, I think that like the safest way to do it would still be to use the same inoculants that you're getting from your regular yeast supplier, just to control the process at home, because things can go like. They're able to pull off some of this shit because they have these ancient, wooden casks that are full of crazy creatures that want to do this stuff already. Yeah. At home, you're probably best just being very curatorial in your selection, is my guess.
Get good wood. Find an excellent barrel that smells good, that smells oaky, that smells relatively clean. Brew and ferment, a solid offering. I would say keep it simple. Doesn't need to be hoppy because you're gonna leave it in the barrel for an undetermined amount of time. And then you're gonna need bugs. You're gonna need microbacteria. So maybe it's something at the bottom of a kombucha bottle. Maybe you find a beer that for sure still has a live culture in it. Like
I've also heard of homebrewers doing bottle shares and using the dredges from the bottom of the bottles as well and putting them in the barrels to inoculate.
Put lees in there.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I mean that's one of the weirder things. So it's like exactly the same as with yogurt, these friendly creatures, basically. It's honestly it's weird. It's like one hesitates to use the term life hack, but by the same token, if you have yogurt, you can make yogurt, which is kind of a weird idea.
Sourdough starter. Yeah.
It's basically, we were talking about the idea that that breweries, venues are going to have something unique about them, like this core strain, like the stuff that's unique about your fooders, right? Mm-hmm. But if there's live cultures in there, you really can brew from live cultures.
100%, absolutely.
So that's honestly very, very cool that you're doing that now, because basically, like I said, brewing is a human art form. We're all the inheritors of it. Putting the thing that we just described as like a big major competitive advantage in the bottle is kind of odd.
Beer is meant to be shared. Beer is meant to be enjoyed. Like we would be honored.
You have
our bugs got.
There's stuff you got to do.
We were born from a homebrew operation. New Belgium was in the late '80s. Jeff was a cyclist and a beer fan, and
the bike's still on there.
Yeah, no doubt, the bike's still on there. And a trip to the Belgian countryside, he was inspired to brew as he's pedaling from Belgian city to city, and eventually ended at a beer bar in Bruges to Bruges Beer J, and from that fateful day, he decided to take his home brew.
Lots of people got jobs.
750 of us now.
Good Lord.
Owners, 100%
100% employee
B Corp.
Yep.
That kicks ass.
Yeah, beer for the people.
That's right.
Hey, so Dragon Breath says a question for the council. So they're putting it out there in the channel, exactly. So
part of the council.
Here, what is a commercial beer that is the definitive malt forward beer, trying to develop a palate?
Definitive malt forward beer.
That's
Amber, I would say.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
Amber's pretty malt forward.
Yeah, Amber is generally speaking going to have a big malt presence.
Yep.
If you want to try something, that I think is really good, and illustrates how interesting the interplay between malt and hopping can be. Are you guys familiar with Hair of the Dog?
Yeah, love those guys.
Yep. Right?
Really
amazing shit, right?
Yeah, amazing stuff.
Have you ever had Blue Dot?
Yep.
Solid.
Changes every time.
Yeah, it is every time I see a bottle of that, it is not the same beer, but it has been good every time.
Yep.
Right? And so what I love about Blue Dot is that it has this massive, compared to a lot of IPAs, at least that are from out this way, it has a gigantic malt spine that is the equal of its ridiculous hop.
Yep.
Right? And so that would be a good, Dragon Breath, that would be a good calibration system, I think, for you to assess your palate.
Yeah, brown beers, ambers. You can.
Oh yeah, a nice. That's a good
Barley
call, too.
wines as well.
Yes,
definitely
yeah.
more
On the heavier side, if you wanna go hog ass wild, a barley wine, I mean, true to the name, would be an amazing way for you to calibrate against malt.
Yep.
Because the malt in them has to be gigantic because the ABV is like 10 to 14. So it's some real shit.
It's hard to brew a signature malty beer when it's really easy for hops to dominate recipes and for you to go way over balance, out of balance towards bitterness. It's tough to get that balance. It's tough to let a malt shine through when there's so many hopheads demanding new and different IPAs every day.
Well,
so a brown beer.
There's the stunt factor.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. I mean, there's like it's an arms race in a certain way, right?
Milkshake IPAs, brute IPAs.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hazy IPAs.
Let's see. So our engineer is in here. It says, I don't drink, but I do cook, and I love using fat tire to deglaze and add flavor. When making stew. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Are there other beers you can recommend that would also work well for cooking? I think in any of the contexts we're talking about here, a lot of the stuff that we like for malt forward, those are going to be the things where the hop isn't going to infringe as much on your project, right? Yeah. So I think if you want to have a good time, you go in there with an amber. You go in there with like a nice nut brown ale.
Mm-hmm. As soon as you apply lots of heat to IPAs, the essential oils break down, and you're left with a lot of bitter alpha acid remains. So you can play around with it, and that's really what the Belgians do is creative, toss a bunch of stuff into into the kettle or whatnot and play around. But I would agree. Keep it simple.
Yeah, keep the hops down here. If you really want to go wild, depending on what you were cooking with. I would experiment in the German space too.
Yeah, definitely.
Imagine like alongside some chicken or in a stew, something like a Dunkel or a Schwarzbier.
I'm thinking about a Rausch beer too, something with a smoke element.
God, have you had a Rausch beer with some sausage?
Yeah, oof, coming off the grill. Bam,
real good.
Strength of strength,
or something like that. Like
Hey,
stew, yep.
So Kika is saying on the subject of seasonal beers, what would you say the best beers to have this time of year? I know that I have ideas. I would love to know what you think.
Summertime, easy drinking, sessionable, thirst quenching. We do a beer called Day Blazer in the 15-pack can.
Day Blazer?
Yeah, blaze all day. Yeah, it's a golden ale, the notes of honey. But yeah, like when I will go for pale ales in the summertime. I will go for Mexican lager beers or craft options and type of things.
Yeah, the main thing
Mexican style lager,
exactly. But the main thing we were talking about, like sessionability. Have you ever been over to
Czech Pils
yeah,
summertime?
No, a Czech Pils is it. But basically, when we're talking about sessionable, it's just low ABV for the most part. Yeah, friendly. They tend to be lighter in color, just by virtue of their manufacture. But there's a couple novel styles that you might consider in the summer if you haven't tried them already. Do you guys do a Goza?
Goza. We have done Gozas in the past. Some collaborative offerings. Have we done like a full release Goza though?
I don't really think so. I wouldn't call Tartastic a Goza.
Not quite. Need a little salt up in there.
So we've.
I love that style.
We've actually made one.
Kick ass.
And the first one we did actually soured in the carboy, and Eric, our brewmaster, basically will not use that. He thinks that the carboy is haunted. Like it seems to me like but like the wrong kind. Like it seems to me like we would be able to one step it or like fuck that thing up, like get it pristine. But he thinks that there's a ghost in it, and so he doesn't want to use it anymore. But that was the
Gozers in the
exactly. But that was the very first one that we did, the Goza, and so yeah, it's. But for me, it's like that was a tart beer that was a nice on ramp into sours too.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's not crazy pants, and we just use acidulated malts to get some of the tang, right?
Yeah.
And then it has salt, but then it often has like a citrus or fruit component or rind.
Yeah.
And so as a summer beer, like it it's almost unbeatable.
So good. And I mentioned Berliner Weiss earlier as well. And
yes.
You know, they're right next to each other on the beer family tree, Gozas and Berliner Weisses.
Yep.
And you'll find them out there. Like that's go to bottle shop and ask your beer tender, and they'll find them for you.
Oh, the other scenario that we must recommend, of course, is like the is like a Rodler type situation.
Oh yeah.
Fruit. Yeah, I was gonna say fruit forward beers is what I kind of like to drink in the summer. You know, like Pilsner's lagers, like that.
Yeah,
was
get that juice blend in
Definitely,
there.
yeah.
That lemonade.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
Some people like shandies. I'm like, yeah, I kind of like them in the summer. You know, it's just kind of, you know, it's a seasonal thing for my palate at least. Like I like those lighter beers for sure.
Ooh, now this is a controversial question. We have, like I said, we're blessed to have a number of brewers. I mean, New Belgium as well, but we have a number of brewers in the channel. And Baron Timber has had some really curatorial suggestions on our beers.
Bravo, Baron.
Right. So Baron Timber says, "How long do you think it will take before IPAs jump the shark, and the populace starts going for more grain-forward beers?" No, this could be a dangerous, you know.
I want to lose my craft right here.
The internet is forever. I mean, the
I
thing.
think it's already kind of started.
Well, the thing. I mean, I think the first crack in the facade is actually this New England haze thing.
Yep, I was about to say the haze IPA kind of started it. Now you're going to see a lot of what they're calling brute IPAs as well.
Oh, hold on. What's that?
So
What IPs?
brute IPAs is what they're
Brutes?
called.
I didn't know what that was 2 weeks ago.
Here, Fair Napalm. Thanks so much. What do you mean? Okay, so we don't. This term has not arrived.
Oh, it hasn't arrived yet? Okay, so
What does that mean?
you're going to start seeing some, it started in kind of Northern California, and basically from what I get.
Already, I hate it.
Yeah, right? And it's working its way up to the Pac Northwest. You're going to see
infection.
Yep, you're going to see some of these breweries coming out with them. So basically.
BRUT or BRUTE?
BRUT.
I'm a brute.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
This is a
BRUT.
different thing. Different
So
thing.
this is going to be a beer. It's going to be an IPA, but it's going to be brewed with champagne yeast. So it's going to be a dry finish on the back end.
That's okay. That's not crazy.
Yeah. As far as I know, there could be other kind of yeast strains that some of the other breweries are using. But
Weird.
Yeah.
So, but
Dry.
from a
gonna be
taste
really dry.
perspective, it's almost gonna have the it's almost gonna be like a hopped cider or something. Like
yeah, something kind of
the
similar
back
to
end of
that.
it is just gonna effervesce.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, I
Brand
haven't
new
tried any
IPA.
yet, so I don't know. I can't give you my personal opinion, but that'll be the next. That seems to be the next style that's coming out.
Like I said, I mean, I definitely think that the first was when you started to see this, the hazy floral stuff. Like basically, like that's the only thing I've seen that was like a crack in it at all. So it's like, but you ever go down to Russian River?
Love that spot. Yeah.
Right?
Natalie and Vinny are amazing.
Have you ever had
Have you ever had their pills, the SDS?
So clean. It's maybe a perfect pilsner.
Yeah. I mean, it's especially if you're a beer dork,
Mm-hmm.
like it's much more bitter than a general pill. Like the bittering on it is pretty hardcore. And so I had gotten one of those for Brenna when I was down there. That's my wife. And it's like I got it for her because I thought that it would be reasonable. Like she likes beers that taste like beer, right? And so that means like a specific thing. One of the things it doesn't mean is that it can't be from the Northwest, more or less. Like, you know what I mean?
Just have a beer, please.
Yeah, that's what she wants, right? She wants like coffee that tastes like coffee, and she wants beer that tastes like
I get
beer,
that. Yeah.
right? And but the STS was actually too bitter, and so I gave her a sip of the haze that they had on tap, and she actually traded.
Nice.
Like I've never seen that before. She never chooses IPA, and that's when I knew that something had. That's when I knew that it had moved. That the market can access that because that's compatible. Like a lot of people, it is much more approachable. I think.
So I think that's the addition that the haze craze has given to the craft beer game and beer in general is that there are undiscovered hopheads out there. There are people that like hoppy beer but don't like overt crazy bitterness.
Exactly, but
So
they might not like the
bitterness
pine.
down.
They might not like the pine resinous, like the. They might not like that citrus fang
Sure.
just going into their craw. Like they want when you start talking about like stone fruits and florals.
Yeah, tropical, pineapple, mango.
Yeah, exactly. It's
guava.
not sharp in the same way, right? And I think that that's appealing to a different type of person.
Fully agree.
Here, speaking of which,
Let's get into the emperor.
so I want you to tell me about why is there hemp in here? You perverts.
Why not?
What's this about?
I put hemp in my hair today. It's a
that oil?
hemp oil. Yeah, like
Dude, is
hair
that
products.
what's going on down here with this?
This is the beard balm
That's
down
got
here.
body.
But like
It's got
I'll probably
body.
start to do full facial.
Yeah, it can never stay up here. Like it's got to migrate
I'm sure it's trickling down.
on a hot day. Those rich oils right here.
starts to melt.
So like I said, so IPAs really like not even a decade in making them really for your crew.
And this is the first of its kind. Let that waft your way a little bit.
It's gonna smell like your basement in high school. All right.
I've heard you use the term dank AF.
It smells like my basement now.
There you go.
I had this one guy say, it smells like my son's bedroom.
Yeah, right. There you go.
What does your son have in his
Hey, Josh, come here.
So we like to say that one smells like hemp flowers.
There we go. Yeah, hemp flowers. So the Hemper HPA is a hemp-infused ale that we came out with. We just released this past spring.
Ooh.
So yeah, there we go.
Put some dank in your
That's something
tank.
else, right? Holy shit.
So we
you
brew
guys.
this with hemp hearts, which are kind of the husks around the hemp seeds. And we were also able to create a kind of spice/fruit mixture to mimic the terpenes from the hemp flower. So that's where you're going to get that nose.
Oh, weird.
And then you're going to get kind of that, as I like to say.
So that's your spice oil mixture.
Yep,
It's
that's
not. It isn't the hemp. It isn't the hemp heart.
The feds won't let us use any other part of the hemp plant
the hemp
except
plant.
for the dehulled hemp seed.
Yep.
Thanks a lot, government.
Yeah. So there's no THC or CBDs in this beer. It's 100% beer. And, it kind of smells like a bag of weed.
Kinda?
That's full on chronic.
Yeah, it's kind of got that,
Josh is high, and he only
Sorry, man.
smelled it. He's rolling around back. He's knocked over a shelf. We need to call the police. No. So because here, obviously, this is a legal state, and so
Love that about Washington.
I'm
Cheers to that.
not going to say anything else. But what I'm saying is that they actually have a bunch of what they call tinctures, which are different types of bottled. But that's the real shit.
Yep.
Like this is actually just like a beverage that has all the stuff you're talking about.
Yep.
So given that the limitations on what you could do with it were pretty strong, what drew you to that as an ingredient?
The hemp plant needs to be brought back to the American farmer, brought back worldwide. Growing hemp is actually good for soil.
This is actually like a mission?
Yeah, it's our opportunity to use beer as a vehicle for hemp advocacy to change some laws, and there are actually some coming up to be voted on soon.
Well, yeah, it depends. It really depends on the state. It depends on the state, like whether
Kentucky's about to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like whether it can be even like the hemp. Generally speaking, the levels of psychoactive compounds are super low. For some reason, I know a lot about this, but I'm saying that like it's very, very low, but it still gets lumped in on the other side of it.
It's class 1,
Right? Yeah, exactly.
stupid.
Like it's like no medical use, high capacity for addiction. It's like, no, I don't think so.
No.
Like a dandelion should be Schedule 1. Like, probably not. Right, so I need more of that right away.
Immediately.
This is
the Emperor's Pale Ale
this is
is a ton of
kick-ass.
fun. This beer has been so much fun to crack open and share with folks. Like, as soon as you smell it, you know what it is. And then you get this little like smile, chuckle, like, you guys did what?
Yeah, exactly. But the profile is so nice.
Yeah. Underneath it all
Like
is
it's not a
balanced,
stunt. Yeah, exactly. Like it's
fantastic
not
IPA
a stunt
thing.
at all. It's actually like an amazing. It's a really, really nice bottle,
Yep.
independent of any of the other like a payload that you have in the mission.
Yeah.
And you know that by drinking the Emperor, you're supporting hemp advocacy and working to bring this the plant back. Great for textiles.
Damn, it's good.
It puts nutrients back into the soil and uses dramatically less water to grow.
Oh, I see. It's
the
like
heights it needs
it's a nitrogen,
enriching. Yeah, it puts nitrogen back into the soil after. Yeah.
like a bean. Hey,
Hooray beer.
Perfect Jim wants to know if there are any other gases other than carbon and nitro to use for pumping beer.
Not that outside of a blend of the two. Not that I've heard. Cask beer, sometimes oxygen
beer,
gets used and whatnot.
Yeah.
That
So
can
in a cask, that tends to be pulled up by an engine,
yeah.
right? And so there'll be sometimes just like air will get inside that because that's mostly a mechanical process of drawing it up from the cellar.
No, you don't really need to do anything outside of CO2 or nitrogen or a blend. And then based upon the system that you're local watering hole is using, sometimes you'll need more or less CO2 or nitrogen to get the beer where it needs to go.
Grimsworth is asking if it'd be possible to make a beer using sake yeast.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, I was just going to say, we just got done talking about these brute IPAs. I mean, it's really about the base. What makes it, generally speaking, what makes it a beer is that it's made from wheat and not, it's made from grains and not something else.
Yep.
Right? So you could definitely do that. I have no idea what the result would be.
I think Matchless does it
Yeah.
down in
Yeah, they made one.
Cumwater.
Yeah.
Sake Yatumi.
Yeah, Sake. Yeah, see, you remember the name. I was like, it had a cool name. I totally forgot about it. But yeah, they made a.
They're dope. Love me some Matchless.
Yeah, I can't remember what style of beer it was. I'm assuming it would be a lager.
I think it was.
I think it was a lager. But yeah, they definitely use sake yeast for that one. So they are out there.
I want to know more about how you think Voodoo
shit.
Ranger could play into. Always nerd shit. I mean, like,
Yeah. Let's dish it up.
yeah.
I'm ready. How can I help?
How does that man work into a campaign, or that skeleton, I should say? Like
That precious skeleton.
yeah.
I am not opposed to incorporating skeleton beasts. Of course,
It's probably. I mean, yeah.
in D&D, the skeleton is a frequent visitor.
Sure. I used to play Hero Quest. That was my jam.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's sort of like getting into a D&D thing without having to get
At the pieces.
super
right,
deep
you can
into
still
it.
use a 6-sided die and
Have you so
instruction manual.
knowing that's in your history? Did you ever play any Descent?
Never played Descent.
You would like it.
Okay.
You should definitely investigate it.
Here I go. Finding another
I mean,
addiction.
No, I'm gonna make you spend a lot of money on there.
Down.
Well, tell me about this voodoo. Tell me about this voodoo ranger,
Yeah.
and let's see if we can figure out his psychological profile.
So he's a little, how should I say?
see. Well,
He's kind
we
of
already
a
have
bit of
the
a
ranger archetype in D&D.
He's a little snarky.
Okay.
He'll message you a little bit. He'll crack wise. His Twitter feed is pretty
I was
dope.
gonna say, does he have like a social media?
He's on Instagram. Yeah.
He's like, yeah. And
it at
Lauren, is
Ranger?
this, are you
with the
marketing
advent of AI.
Are you the?
Is it at Voodoo Ranger though? Is that his handle?
Voodoo Ranger.
Yeah. That's his
He's been
handle.
to space. He hangs out in zoos. Like Voodoo's got his own sort of like thing, and with the advent of AI, I'm frightened about what he can.
You're talking about that
turn
strong
into.
integration.
Yeah.
Well, here, what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to set up a notepad,
Sweet.
and I would like you to dish up to me, to your boy,
Yeah.
a few of the novel ingredients that you crave the most, like your favorite beer composition type ingredients. And this is true for the channel as well.
Sweet.
Feel free to drop an ingredient in using the question tag. I want to collect like a fooder. I'm going to keep my mind open. Dish up a few things that you like that we can incorporate. And then what we'll do is we'll reverse engineer. Typically speaking, we have a character and then we make a beer. Or we have an event or a cultural event that takes place inside the game. So we have holidays that exist in the game. In fact, the main game that we play here at this table, the C Team, which is tomorrow afternoon, they're actually in the middle of a holiday that we made up, and like on the campaign, we come back and celebrate it every year, right?
Cool.
And so it has
What's
beers.
the holiday?
It's called Last Stone's Day.
Sweet.
And so it has beers that are associated with it, right? So let's reverse engineer here. So give me a bunch of ingredients, and then what we'll do is we'll take these, and then we'll work with the channel next week, and then we'll try to come up with something together. And then if it makes sense, I'll see if I can hook your skeleton up.
We'll take it. And so I'm going to tell you about, I'm happy to work this beer into this conversation. I'll tell you about my favorite New Belgium beer.
Yeah.
It's called Springboard, was called Springboard, not in the lineup anymore.
I was just gonna say that I'm not sure that got out here.
So Springboard was a game changer for me in 2007. And so Springboard was a beer that we brewed with wormwood, Schisandra, and goji berries.
Wormwood?
Wormwood, straight up. Wormwood, Schisandra, goji berries, a little bit of sour beer, and some oats. So a little tiny bit of Felix. Oats are in the recipe.
Yeah, that's a nice
This beer did things to me. Like the belch, the Springboard belch was like like a mountain wildflower breeze or something like that. It was like 6.5%, and I crushed that thing like
Thanks for listening.
too many times.
It was real good.
It was amazing. It was so good. It was like this, like something what have you done in this bottle, you sorcerers?
It was new.
It was
right?
brand new. Yeah, we only did it twice. It never got into kegs, but Springboard.
Yeah, I remember that beer.
Yeah, Wormwood, Schisandra, and goji berries. So
Right.
those are mine.
I gotcha. So I'm going to grab a honey malt here from the channel from GM Rocky. And then I know that Matsif wants to make sure that I get some Special B up in this mix. That's a favorite of our of my typical companion on the program. So what do you got?
I always like hibiscus.
Yeah.
Color.
Get some color.
Well, no, definitely beautiful color.
Yeah.
But also that sharp tea.
Yep.
Right. Okay. And Lauren in the back
Jasmine.
didn't want to be on the show, but she's got recommendations
whispered.
about herbs. Okay. So Jasmine is amazing in beer. So have you ever had the Jasmine?
Avatar is dope.
The Avatar. See, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. Elysian has got some hot stuff. Have you ever had their Jasmine?
I haven't.
They have a
Avatar.
Jasmine IPA.
You.
Avatar.
Don't miss it in town. And it's not hard to get either. Elysian is one of the places around here that usually has 5 or 6 bombers anywhere you go.
Truth.
So it is so good. So here, I got Jasmine. I got you.
I was going to mention something too. I saw on the board over there, someone mentioned glitter, not to go back to anything, but speaking of jumping the shark with IPAs, the glitter IPAs is something as well as
Glitter IPA?
I would drink it. Is that weird?
Yeah, they're putting food safe glitter into beers now. So when the beer pours out, it looks like glittery like snow
Sparkles?
globe. Yeah, it sparkles.
Food safe glitter?
Yeah, it's a true thing. Speaking of jumping the shark with IPAs, I was about to say I forgot about
Okay,
the
dude,
glitter.
no, that's the end game. If they're putting glitter in it, it's over.
Yeah, they're out there.
Wow. Officially over.
What do they call it these days? Extra.
Yeah, right.
Interesting. Oh, yeah. Atria Ventrica is saying tea infusions all chat, and I
Yeah, I
completely
like this-
agree.
I like
Jasmine's
this
a great
tea
choice for
thread.
that, too.
Yeah.
We got honey, Munich malt, elderflower. So, like I say, we'll... elderflower, yeah. So like I say, we will definitely get this maple syrup.
Of elderberries.
Yeah, right.
Maple.
Ginger, I hear you over there, LB.
Come on
There
in.
with that ginger.
Don't be
Yeah.
scared. Get on
Oh,
TV.
yeah.
Ginger's rad.
Lydia is saying chamomile in lighter beers mead.
Oh, big fan.
Completely,
Yeah.
Big fan of chamomile.
completely agree.
Use that in our Kolsch.
Recognize.
Bicycle kick?
Chamomile.
I feel like, yeah, names, props.
Yeah.
Chamomile.
Have you guys ever heard of a Phoenix hop?
I saw that come up the queue there. I have to say no. But Phoenix, that's got some ties to some comic book
it's
lore.
fantasy as
and-
shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Deeper fantasy lore as well. Yeah.
Iron Wart, Grey Whisper?
Huh?
Iron Wart?
Make it happen. Back in the day, you had to buy the Gruitzreich to be able to brew beer.
Yeah.
It's like one of the earliest forms of taxation.
Right.
You want to brew? You got to buy our
Over
bag of
here.
herbs.
Put over here. Here, Ulysses KPG says food safe glitter. Does it pass? You know it does. If it's food safe,
How do you know?
you know. I don't have to have experienced it to know. I can't even imagine the terror. Or is it joy? Like, I mean, is it, or is it a commingling of?
So sparkly.
Is it a commingling of terror and joy?
I can't look.
Oh yeah, and Fodwin's saying so. Jim, so we have a character from the classic, what we call the A game, like the A team, that usually performs at PAX conventions.
Sweet.
So that's
I want to go next time.
I can hook that up. I know.
Sweet.
Okay. So Jim Dark Magic is sort of like he's like a wizard who is mostly a stage magician. So he's like a sorcerer with a wizard with real power.
Fantastic.
But the way that he presents all of it is as sort of tricks and things like that. So Fodwin is saying that Jim's beers need glitter. So the purple, can you the purple glitter inside the hibiscus ale?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, let's do this already.
Now we're talking. All right, I'm just gonna.
Schisandra, also known as Chinese 5 spice. It
like five
activates
spice.
all of the it travels across your tongue, hitting your different
Taste.
flavor receptors on your tongue. Yeah,
Yeah.
legit.
Grey Whisper is saying that there's a beer with that herb locally in the EU, perfect for light pales in the summer. Yeah, I will investigate.
You in the house?
Yeah, all the time. I will definitely investigate Ironwort. First of all, Ironwort sounds like some fantasy horse shit. Like that sounds like something.
Don't believe you.
That sounds like something Gandalf would suggest. But no, we got some really good stuff here. So I have. Are you guys familiar with kvass?
Yeah, that's like
What is it?
It gets you drunk. I know that.
Is it a beer?
I'm not familiar.
It's a fermented something.
Oh, is
It's
it?
some kind of fermented thing.
And I think it's a fruit. It might be, or you can get like different fruit versions of kvass. KVAS.
Yeah, KVASS. Yeah.
Two S's.
Yeah, because Perfect Gym has been wanted. What do you think about it? It's like
I need to drink more. Once again, further research needs to occur.
yeah,
Homework.
it can definitely I know that it can be fermented, and I know that
I think it's something you can
it's
do it.
highly tolerable of additions.
And I think you can do that super easy at home, kind of like kombucha,
Oh, there you go.
et cetera.
Yeah.
What's the other one? Kefir? I don't know if it's similar at all.
Could be. Baron Timber wants to know, they're going to Fort Collins in a couple months
Oh, I got your back.
for a friend's wedding. What are some of the local breweries that we should hit up on the wedding bar crawl?
Before you go to Belgium?
Well, no, it's just knowing that we are going to be hitting up your tasting room at some point as well. So it happened for you.
Nice.
Now, let's share the love.
There's so much. Got to go to Purpose. So Peter
Purpose.
Peter Buchart, he spent mad decades, 2.5 decades, working at New Belgium. Fellow co-owner took me to Belgium on my 5-year anniversary trip.
Wow.
And so when he stepped away from New Belgium, he was stepping into Purpose Brewing. And it's a very much like
Smaller scale.
farmstead, like they're growing their own raw materials, and they're roasting coffee, and they're brewing beer.
Holy shit.
He gets to do some basically whatever he wants. Doesn't have to worry about satisfying 50 states beer tastes. He can do what he wants to do.
You can just go bonkers, and you can go benefit.
Brew with it. Yeah, and so Purpose Brewing. Go to Purpose. If you're at Fort Collins, you got to go to Odell. It's just right around the corner. Black Bottle. I like what Black Bottle's doing a lot.
I would say check out Funkworks.
Funkworks.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mostly saisons. They're very much in the Belgian tradition. Interesting additions to their saison. Yeah, Funkworks is dope.
Equinox is another brewery I would
Solid,
check out
been
as
doing
well.
it for a long time. Yeah.
Those are the ones that kind of popped to my head. But yeah,
That'll get it done. If we can figure out how to get his information, make sure that we get that person on a tour.
Yeah. Well, it's Baron Timber on here. Get a hold of him. In fact, I suspect that Patrick on the New Belgium Brewing account in here might be able to make that love connection. Right?
There you go.
Got you.
Oh yes, and he's in there too. Dragon, horse, Odell.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Hot shit.
There you go.
Hot shit. Yeah, see, here's the PM. See, fucking making that relationship happen.
Fantastic.
Now, Kika's saying, I don't know if this works for beer, but jasmine and green tea together is extremely delicious. What are your thoughts on using that flavor blend in a beer? What I would do is I would come at it real gentle. I would hook it up in a Pils.
Yeah, something lighter for sure.
Exactly. And basically just let the rest of those flavors be the base, and just make something that is refreshing and ready to work.
Or
Most
Kolsch,
definitely.
something like that. Yeah.
Or ferment it with a Belgian yeast strain to get some other interesting floral, herbal.
Well, yeah,
notes.
Exactly. I mean, that's always the magic. And so we talked about that because we made a couple Belgian like some strong ales and stuff like that on the show, and that's what we always say. We start talking about like the flavor profiles, and they're just like alien. Like, you pair that to that American ale yeast, even American ale yeast too, and then it's just Bonkersville over here.
Sure.
Pie cherries and crazy shit, right?
Yeah, a golden ale or you said Kolsch, didn't you?
Yeah, I said Kolsch. Yeah,
I
something
think it's a
lighter
brilliant
for
idea.
sure.
Oh, Kolsch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be good.
That would be very sweet. That'd be a great combo. So we also have habanero in here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Habanero. Like
So like I say, so what we'll do is we'll come after all these things. We'll try to come up with a cool character profile
Fantastic.
that we can send back your way, and then we can also send you a bottle too.
Killer.
So you can take full advantage of that.
Much obliged.
Let's see, is there any other cues in here that I can dish up? for the people. Let's see.
Smooth, soft cayenne pepper.
Ooh. So Viking Goat says on the topic of hemp, hops, and gardening soil, are they similar in their nitrogen soil fixing? I think that's one of the advantages they have. Would they be good companion plants for growing veggies and herbs?
100%, absolutely. And if hemp grows a lot, hemp grows very tall, very, very quickly with not a lot of water usage. And so, be careful of where you're growing.
Shade.
Exactly, for sure. But you got the plot, man, grow that. And then hops you need something for the hop vines to grow up. So you
Trellis.
need trellis and a higher elevation to which to attach that to.
Yep.
One of my good friends, Skip Shelley, works for Ballast Point in field quality.
Oh,
he has an amazing garden.
Ballast Point's got some hot shit.
Oh man, yeah, they do a lot of awesome stuff.
They got that sculpin.
He grows hops and garlic and the sculpin. That's a craft beer game changer right there.
Yeah, grapefruit sculpin. That's the sequel. You know what I mean? Sometimes the sequel isn't as good, but this one's great.
Solid.
Hey, so Grey Whisper says the natural wax on fruits is full of bacteria. Do you think adding a few fruits temporarily would work to fire off the fermentation process?
Sure.
It almost certainly would, but I'm not sure what I'm not sure what is living on there.
And that's so the lambics from lambic they have a yeast strain named after them. It's something lambicus.
Yeah.
So it's the particular yeast that blows around in that part of Belgium.
Yeah.
Is what
terroir.
Exactly, the terroir. So I would say why not be prepared to if it turns funky and weird, to flush it and try again. But yeah, using fruit to help trigger fermentation, that's another thing that's been done for millennia. That's why Johnny Appleseed was doing what he was doing was to grow apples for a sugar source to then put into barrels and let the natural yeast turn that into booze.
Oh man! So
Johnny.
I have one more suggestion in there for Szechuan peppers.
Oh yeah.
So the Szechuan peppercorn, that's sort of like
we've done peppercorn beers.
Astringent. Oh yeah. I mean, that is a
Peppercorn saison.
exactly right. That is an amazing
Love that
offering, though. That might be something really nice depending on the regular body. Well, Dallas,
dude.
John,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having us.
We have actually been talking for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
That was a fast hour and a half.
Genuinely surprised to reveal this information. But anyway, these are our friends from New Belgium. They popped into the channel. Like I said, I don't know how it came to be that we were running a Twitch stream, and then cool people from a real big person brewery manifested here. According to the natural course of events. I don't know how it happened 100%, but
we're honored. Thanks for having us.
Dude,
Thanks
it's our
again for
pleasure.
having us.
It's
Yeah,
our
awesome.
pleasure. Like I say, so we'll come at the channel next week according to our traditional mode.
Fantastic.
We'll incorporate as many of these ingredients as we can. We'll give the channel choices.
I'm excited to drink the beer.
And then hopefully we'll be able to cook up something that's cool, fantasy inspired for you. And then obviously there will be a drink attached. So it's a pretty good
Fantastic.
thing. Well, anyway, channel, thank you so much for rolling through.